Dr. Monique, hey, how are you doing this evening?
I am great, Ellis. How are you? Happy last Tuesday of October.
I know, man, 2021 is going by so fast. I feel like life is accelerating, but that's a whole nother show. That's a whole
That
nother
is, that's a whole nother show. But I agree with you. You're not alone.
topic.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. I am still as excited as I was last week. So, thank you so much for joining us for episode number 2 of Veganish. I am your host, Dr. Monique. I am a board certified family physician, known as a physician in the kitchen. And through my online platforms and best-selling book, Meal Masters, Your Simple Guide to Modern Day Meal Planning, I help busy households enjoy healthy eating without impacting their hectic schedules. And with this platform from blackdoctor.org, I am sharing with you my vegan-ish journey. And we're going to talk about all things veganish, meaning some plant-based, some not plant-based, and kind of what does it all mean? So we're going to get into it, right?
Absolutely. And this show, like I promise you, people, I just got off the show with Dr. Jackson, dermatologist, and we're talking about skin and hair loss and all these other things, right? And the one thing she said is, yeah, the best thing probably for your skin is to eat a more plant-based diet, right? And so I was like, well, right after this show at 8 o'clock, if you want to learn how to eat a more plant-based diet, we've got Dr. Monique here at the Physician in the Kitchen.
That's right. It does a body good. No matter if you're talking about your hair, your skin, your heart, your cholesterol, it does a body good. They say that about milk, right? But we definitely know that about plants. But yeah, I just want to take some time to recognize everyone, to say thank you again for joining us. Please drop in the chat where you are from, represent.
Yes.
That zip code, let us know where you're watching us from, or your area code, whichever one you prefer. I've shared with you, I'm from the Bronx, lived in Spring Valley, New York, where I graduated high school, then went to Chapel Hill for undergrad, and then Temple for medical school. Spent a little time in Memphis, but I've lived in Charlotte for most of the past, I'd say 20, 25 years. So a lot of different touch points there. So, and then my family's from Alabama. So I think I've got, a good part of the East Coast and a little bit of the South covered. So please let us know where you're from. And please tag somebody, right? We're going to be sharing a lot of helpful information,
Yes.
and sharing is caring. So if you know someone that may need this information, just please, we appreciate you tagging us or tagging them to join us. And then if you're catching this on the replay, if you can do #replay, we'd appreciate that as well. So Alice, it's Tuesday. It's like I said, it's the last Tuesday of October.
Mm-hmm.
It's really going by, in what, a month? What is it? A month? It'll be Thanksgiving.
Yes.
The Super Bowl of holiday cooking, right?
The Super Bowl of holiday cooking. I'm telling you, I've literally been getting, and somebody told me the other last week or so, they said October is when most people start like their diet regimen because they know they're about to hit this hard push. And so October is that month where people try to cut back until we get to Halloween. And then after Halloween, then in November, it flips on its head. And then in January, we start back again.
Exactly. Well, what I encourage people to do, and this is one thing I'm going to do myself. So I encourage you to, again, this is all a journey we're all on together. Since as we've said, Thanksgiving is about a month away. Go ahead and start prepping now. I think part of that holiday stress is you look up and you're like, Thanksgiving is in 3 days, and you may not have cooked or done everything you wanted to do. So some of the stuff that you can cook now and freeze it, like your casseroles, your mac and cheese, your greens, or whatever you have, and some of that stuff freezes very well for 3-4 weeks. Go ahead and start doing some of that now. If you just do like one dish a week, that's less that you have to stress and worry about, which can be overwhelming. It takes away from the joy of the holidays when you're worried about trying to get stuff prepared in time. So start a little early and be intentional about it so that you're not frazzled when it's go time.
Well, I'm going to be really looking forward to it. So as we get closer to Thanksgiving, Doc, I know people are going to be tuning in to that show right before Thanksgiving because we want to know how we can eat healthier for Thanksgiving. Because as you know, Black folks like to get down on Thanksgiving and Christmas, okay? And we don't always cook the healthiest, but we do have some healthy items there, right? So we do like our yams, and we do like our greens, and we do have there are some healthy food items, but I know they can be healthier because we tend to do some things to it to enhance flavors that aren't the best for us. And so if we can find a way to make them healthier, I think that would be really, really great for us to know going into this holiday food season.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can make a salad unhealthy, right? Depending on what you put on it. So
Ranch.
we definitely will get into that. Did you say cheese? What'd you say?
I say ranch.
Ranch. Right, exactly. So yeah, so last week we had a teaser. So those of you who were with us last week, you heard me say we're gonna talk this week about why I consider diet to be a four-letter word. So we're gonna get into that, a four-letter word. And we're also going to talk about what is your diet, D-I-E-T. So we're going to flip that word and make it into an acronym and tease that apart a little bit. But first, just to get started, why I think diet is a four-letter word. So when I say this, I'm talking about diet with a capital D. And it's typically your fad diets. So your Atkins, your paleo, your keto, some of these diets that are the reason I think they're four-letter words is because yes, they may lead to short-term weight loss, but they can actually be it's kind of self-defeating in the long run because then often what happens is you gain the weight back because it's not sustainable. You can't stay on an unnecessarily restrictive diet for a long term. And so what happens is when you return back to your normal or regular eating patterns, the weight comes back on. And so that leads to, yo-yo dieting or weight loss, which can lead to depression and feeling just inadequate, despair, frustrated, all kinds of negative things that will just be self-sabotaging. So, and some of them may even be harmful. So, some of
Right.
the diets where you're eating a lot of high fat, those can mess with your blood glucose, your cholesterol. It can put strains on your kidneys, your liver. So, for a variety of reasons, D with a diet with a capital D is considered a four-letter word to me. When
Right.
we talk about diet with this small d, that's just generally, what you eat from day to day, what makes up the majority of your food. So that type of diet is okay. But specifically what I'm talking about is these fad diets or short-term diets that some people do. So I saw a comment there about die, the first three letters are die. Well, that's one way of looking at it. I mean, that's a little on the far end there, but I do think that there may be some rationale there. I mean, I just we're gonna get into this more over the weeks again, about
Right.
how do you fill that plate? What do you do? How do you know what to eat? But yeah, I've never been a big fan of diets that say, well, you can't eat this or eat all, 90% of your calories come from this. That just doesn't make sense to me scientifically. And actually, there have not been enough studies that show the long-term effect of some of these studies. So you have to, of some of these diets. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. Or you're too
So
excited.
I learned recently there are three macronutrients, right? And so that's fats, carbs, and proteins,
Mhm.
right? So those are the three macronutrients. So when we have these diets where like the Atkins diet was like heavy on protein and you went low on carbs, that doesn't that throw off the balance in the body a little bit in terms of and
Yeah,
so you have a short term gain, but it could be some long term implications with regards to having an imbalance in those nutrients.
Yeah, I mean, potentially speaking, because your body does need, all types of those food types or macronutrients for proper function. So when you're stressing one over the other, like say in the keto diet where it's high fat and you want to put your body into ketosis as a fuel source, using fat as a fuel source versus glucose. Again, short term, yes, it can lead to weight loss, but in the long run, it may have harmful effects that remain to be seen in large scale studies. So, I mean, I'm glad you asked that question, Ellis, because I think that brings me to our kind of our main line, our headliner tonight, which is what is your diet, right? So we've kind of talked a little bit about maybe some of these diets are not quite the best, but when you think about the word diet, what is your diet? And so, what I like to use diet to stand for here, so the DIET is daily intention of eating triumphantly. Okay. And so, what do I mean by that? So, this little acronym to me, I think it hits a lot of high notes for me because when you talk about, first of all, daily, if you eat just one meal a day, right, that's 365 meals a day. Well, ideally, you're supposed to eat closer to probably 3 to 4, depending on your health, your underlying health needs and your goals. So
Mhm.
that's over 1,000 meals in a year, right? That can sometimes be a little overwhelming if you have to think about what to plan, how to make it, how much of this to get. So it's a daily, I don't want to say struggle, but it's a daily challenge. But the good thing about that is daily is that guess what? We get to do it all over again the next day.
Right.
So say you didn't hit your target, you didn't hit your goal, you may have had a cheat day, but you know what? We fall down, but what? We get back up.
Get back up.
So I like the daily emphasis there because it says, okay, you can always kind of start anew and take what worked from the day before and ditch what didn't. So
Right.
that's the D in that. Intent or intentional. We talked a little bit last week about mindset, right? About how everything starts with a purpose, with a plan, being purposeful versus a more haphazard or random. And one of the things I talk about in my first book, Meal Masters, Your Simple Guide to Modern Day Meal Planning, I use the example of if you find money on the street versus I'm sorry, if you have to make time to go to the bank versus finding money on the street. The difference is, say you're just walking down the street and you look down, there's $100 bill. Well, you didn't have to do anything for that. It just
Right.
happens, right? So you just kind of found money there. Versus if you have to go to the ATM, you have to make time to go to the M. That requires a little bit more planning. That's more purposeful. So when you're talking about your meals or what it is you're going to eat or fuel your engine with, you want to be intentional so that you don't find yourself in these positions of eating on the run and probably getting less than satisfactory and ideal sources of food. We all are guilty of that. We all are guilty of that.
Yeah.
And even in COVID, right? I mean, because even with
Oh yeah.
the restaurants are coming back, but now we've got, COVID has really been a disruptor, of course, in a lot of different ways. So the meal delivery industry, right, has really kind of made some stuff maybe too easy for us to get. So we really have to get in our cars and go get it. It can be delivered. So, that's something else that you'll have to navigate. So we've got D, we've got I, and then of course the E is to eat. But the T, which this is the part that I really want to stress. When I think of triumphant, I think of a warrior. I think of someone, ready to do battle. I do yoga here and there.
Right.
And some of my favorite poses are there's a warrior pose, there's a
Yep.
warrior, and there's a peaceful warrior. Well, think about it. We just mentioned COVID. We're dealing
Right.
with all kinds of things, your home life, your jobs, your this, your that, the many hats and roles that you play. So you want to fuel yourself so that you can be triumphant. I mean, if you just stop and think, the last time you ate something that didn't agree with you, whether it was dairy, if you're a little lactose intolerant, or you ate a heavy carb meal, something like that. Well, how did you feel? You were sluggish, you may have had a headache, maybe a
Right.
little nauseous. So in other words, it's taking you out of your game because you're thinking about what's going on with your stomach and you're not focused on what you need to be focused on. So you want to, again, eat the foods that are going to make this machine run its best, right? Humming
Right.
like a well-maintained car, so that you're not sidetracked with kind of the side effects of poor choices in your food. So that's why I like to think of, what is your diet? What is your daily intent to eat triumphantly so that you can accomplish all that you need to accomplish?
Well, I love the acronym, and the one that is the I for me. It's about being intentional, right? And so I'm going to ask everybody, if you're watching us now, put in the comment section, when was the last time you were intentional about what you ate? So put that in there and put in what you ate. So was it a salad? Were you specific about, hey, I'm going to cut back on this? So put the last time you were intentional, or are you eating just randomly that says, okay, it's lunchtime, I've got to eat. What's the closest thing to do? Are you eating more for flavor, or are you eating for health, or are you trying to find something that's healthy and flavorful? So really kind of put it in the comment section the last time you were intentional about what you ate, because we want to know. And so, because I think sometimes it's important to really kind of list out those things that we're doing so you can see it in its totality. So if I list it out, the places I eat and the things that I've eaten over a 2-day span, over a week span, it might not be as good as I think it is. But if I'm only looking at it as like that $100 bill on the ground, hey, I got $100 bill. I did great today, right? And so, but over time, like, I wasn't intentional enough, and that's how we tend to gain weight over time. That's how we tend to get sluggish over time, get that belly fat that we all don't like. So being intentional. So thank you all for putting it in the chat room, and I just want
And
to.
And I do. And no judgment. If you want to share that you're not intentional, that's okay too. Because again, like he said, we're all here. We're here together. We're here to learn. So maybe, hopefully, you'll pick up something today that maybe you've been in a slump, or you've kind of backslided a little bit in your journey. Maybe you will find something or hear something that will help you. So and Ellis, you brought up a good point too. When I was practicing, I would tell my patients who were dealing with weight issues to keep a food diary.
Mhm.
And this is a well-known, tactic. Keep a food diary, because for that very reason, first of all, you're accountable to yourself. It's not,
Right.
what I'm going to say about what's in the food diary, but for the very reason you said, I can't remember what I had for breakfast 2 days ago,
Right.
at this point in time. But if you keep a running log of it, you can really see, oh yeah, I did eat this. I did do that. And also the other thing I would say is not to write down just what you ate, but kind of how you were feeling, when you ate it. What emotional
Mm.
status were you in? Were you eating because you were bored? Were you eating because you were happy? You were tired? You were sad? Because then you can start to kind of identify some of those non-nutritional things, when you're eating not just because you're hungry, but you may be eating for a variety of other issues. And until some of those issues are addressed, people can have a really hard time being successful on their weight loss journeys.
Right. Right. So everybody said there's been some wonderful things people are eating, talking about eating rotisserie chicken today. They're talking about eating fruit for breakfast today. So last January 2021, Angela, we got to talk about that a little bit more in terms of your salad. So tossed salad for lunch, lots of water. So I see some people that are being really, really intentional. All right. So I
And I
see some
love the
people.
water. I love the water comment. That is super important. So you get the gold star, because hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Because sometimes we mistake thirst for hunger, which leads to overeating and
Mm,
can lead to dehydration. Because by the time you realize, oh, I'm thirsty, you're probably about 10% dehydrated. So staying ahead of that by drinking enough helps with weight loss goals as well. So thank you for that.
So I guess the next question would be, Dr. Monique, for everybody is to say, what would you like to do more of? Right. So if you got some good habits, what are some habits that you would like to increase? What are something? If you're eating 2 vegetables a day, would you like to go to 3? Would you like to go to 5? What are some things that you'd like to do better with regards to that diet, that daily intention of eating triumphantly?
Exactly. Exactly. Kind of what worked, what didn't work, how can you tweak it? And how can you, keep it kind of new and invigorating? Because that's, I think, one of the misconceptions. And I think it's kind of getting a little bit better with the availability of more choices. But one of the common misconceptions or perceptions of a vegan or plant-based diet is, well, all you do is eat lettuce, all you do is eat salad. And I will tell you this week, so for those who don't know, I'm in culinary school. It's a plant-based culinary program. And y'all, I'm so excited about it. So this week, my homework is I have to cook, right? We learn something and then I have to cook it.
Right.
This week we're learning seitan, which is wheat meat. So for people with gluten insensitivity or gluten challenges, this is not for you. But if you're looking for a non-soy, because I know some people have concerns about soy, so tofu and tempeh they may not want to do. So if you're looking for a non-soy plant-based meat replacement, check out seitan. And not only that, I made it myself, which I used to think was like this whole big thing. But anyway, I could go on and on about that. The point is
Right.
that you by making it yourself, you can actually change the flavor. So I'm already thinking, oh, I can put this in there to make it taste more like my Mexican dishes, or I can do this to make one for Thanksgiving. I've already got like a whole menu based around, this seitan for Thanksgiving. So it is far from bland and boring. And so I just encourage people to really be open to trying new things, because you may just hit upon like your next favorite dish.
So I know you had a segment that we wanted to talk about, because I think a lot of people they don't know what technically is vegan. So we know, and we talked about this last week, and the term really is flexitarian, right? So that was a term
Exactly.
we learned last week. So go look
Exactly.
it up. Flexitarian, that means you could eat a little meat, you can eat some honey. There's some things that you can do in there. We're flexitarian, but that's why we're vegan-ish. So, what makes something vegan, and what are some things that our segment would like to call vegan or not?
That's right. Vegan or not. So this little segment was inspired by my personal cleaning out of my refrigerator one day. Really, nothing more fancy than that. And I came across some stuff, and I was like, you know what, this would be good to talk about. So I've got 3 condiments here that I'm going to ask you guys if they are vegan or not. And how we want to do this, Ellis? Do you want to have them tell us why it's not vegan? Like if they vote nah, they got to tell us why it's not vegan. Is that
Tell
fair?
us why it's not vegan. So
Why it's not vegan?
why is that vegan? So Doc's gonna hold up something. You got about 5 seconds to put in there if you think it's vegan or not. So just put in vegan or not.
I'm trying to do this without any labels here, but white. This is white. Everybody, I think everybody can see this is mayonnaise, right? So it's mayonnaise. Is it vegan or nah? And if you vote nah, you got to tell us why. It's like being in school, right? Nobody's going to want to raise their hand because they don't want to get called on.
Right.
So any takers? So mayonnaise, and this one I kind of tricked you guys a little bit. The first one out. Typical mayonnaise is not vegan.
Okay.
So it's not vegan because it is made with eggs. So, but nowadays you can get vegan mayo, and actually this brand that I have now is actually vegan mayo. So that one was a little tricky. I wasn't quite fair with you guys on that one.
Sherry got yeah. So they're coming in. There may be a little delay in terms of because they're coming in.
I see. Okay, I do. Yes, exactly. People are saying eggs. Good. Yep. So good. You guys got it. So right. So you can actually make your own mayonnaise with like aquafaba, which is the juice in a can of beans. You just add a little bit of olive oil, you whip it up and so forth. So there's lots of ways if you don't want to buy a processed vegan mayo that you can actually make that. All right. So vegan or nah, we got one nah so far. So next, mustard. And this should be in everybody's cabinet or refrigerator as far as I'm concerned. But is mustard vegan or not?
Is yellow mustard
Yellow
vegan
mustard
or not?
Rita says everything is vegan conversion. Yes, exactly. Everything, you can pretty much get everything vegan. But for the purposes of this is kind of like the traditional, what you grew up with kind of stuff.
If I was voting, I would say yellow mustard is vegan.
Okay.
That's my vote. But this seems to be a little bit more trickier because we got some parties that says vegan. We've got somebody that says they're not sure. We've got a yes. We even got a
Exactly. And I think too, because I know when I think of mustard, I tend to think of hamburgers and hot dogs, which obviously are not vegan. So maybe it's a process of association that it's getting in. It's kind of in that gray zone. So somebody said, no, it has mayo, maybe because of vinegar. Okay, should I tell them, is it vegan or not?
Tell us, what is it?
It's vegan.
Hey!
It's vegan. Mustard is vegan. Because now pure mustard or just, without all the other stuff in there, it really should just be 3 or 4 ingredients, which is vinegar. Somebody had said that earlier. Water, mustard seed, salt, turmeric, and paprika. And now we'll get, so for bonus points, who can tell me which one of those ingredients makes it yellow? What makes mustard yellow? I'm a food nerd, y'all, so you have to bear with me.
Read those list of ingredients again.
Okay, so we've got vinegar, water, mustard seed, salt, turmeric, and paprika.
Yep.
So what makes it yellow?
We're getting it.
Turmeric. That's right. We got some all-stars right here tonight. Exactly. Turmeric is what makes it yellow. I use turmeric in my stir fry if I'm doing like a tofu stir fry and I want to make the scrambled egg effect. I just add some turmeric and it makes it look like scrambled eggs. But turmeric is a wonderful spice to have in your spice cabinet. It has antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and even antifungal effects. So really, really good for your immune system. So yes, turmeric for the win. All right. Well, these folks though, they already know this stuff. So I don't know.
Smart folks. Here we go.
They are. We're gonna do one more. So this one is Worcestershire sauce. Like some people who have a hard time saying this word, Worcestershire sauce.
I don't know where they came up with that word.
I don't know. So is this sauce
vegan or not?
The traditional. the traditional way that it's made. Is it vegan or not? And it, like with the other one, with the mayo, if it's not vegan, you have to tell us why.
People have some serious uses for this tumor. They put
I'm
in their
serious. And their
OJ.
OJ and their coffee. Okay, come through with the turmeric.
She said, "Love it, don't care." She don't care if it's vegan or not. He's like, I love that Worcestershire sauce. All right, so it looks like people are saying there's all over the map. We got
My mom is watching. She said nah. I got to give my mom a shout out. So she said nah. So okay, y'all. I promise I did not discuss this with my mother beforehand. In case you're wondering. All right. So most of the folks are saying nah. Okay, but for those of you who said nah, you got to tell me why it's not. All
oh,
right, Sheila Gray, got it. It's got anchovies. So anchovies, of course, are fish, right? And it's an interesting thing. I was talking with somebody a few weeks ago about this, and because I have a vegan in my soon-to-be released cookbook, I have actually a vegan Caesar salad dressing that I made. And the person was saying how they react to whenever they have a Caesar salad, they have their allergy symptoms. And the person didn't know that anchovies, they have an allergy to fish. And they
right.
didn't know that anchovies were in the
It's in the dressing.
it's in the dressing.
It's in the dressing.
It's in the
Part of
so
the
it's
Caesar
also
dressing.
in Worcestershire sauce. So if you eat Worcestershire sauce and you start itching and you have a fish allergy, it could be because of that. So this was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I did. So, but like I said, I'm
You know, it was funny. It was like they got the mayonnaise off the rip, and you were like, "Oh, I'm drinking it first." But I think it was the yellow mustard and the Worcestershire that was really that got it. So
and of course there's vegan. I actually made a batch of vegan Worcestershire sauce. You can Google it. There are recipes all over the internet. But yeah, you can certainly make it without that, with the like coconut aminos and other things that take out that element of the anchovies.
So absolutely, MDM. We're going to continue. We're going to do this section. We're going to do this segment again in future shows, and we're going to bring up some other items so we can have this contest again and to say, hey, is it vegan or not? So we're going to switch to what nutrition in the news. Any big nutrition items in the news?
Real quick, because I know we're coming up on our time, but yeah, we it's fall, right? Fall is here. It's this is one of my favorite seasons. I love the chunky sweaters, the boots, the colors, all that, but we all think of pumpkin, sweet potato, that kind of thing. Well, actually there is scientific proof or evidence that those smells, like when we associate those smells, because they trigger a part of our brain that kind of reminds us of past holidays or past experiences that we've had. So even though pumpkin in and of itself doesn't have a smell, that pumpkin spice,
Right.
The combination of cinnamon and nutmeg and cloves. I mean, I know for me, when I walk into my mother's house and she's cooking some collard greens and I can smell those greens, I can smell the cloves in her ham, even though I don't really eat the ham, but I love the smell of the cloves.
Right.
It just gives you those warm and fuzzy memories. So it's
Right.
just interesting. They did a study. I'm trying to find it. Oh, at Johns Hopkins, where they said that the part of the brain that processes smell is closely tied to the part of your brain responsible for memories. So I just thought that was cool. So
Oh.
this time of year, we're thinking about getting together with family for holidays. It's all ties in together because you're creating new memories, but you're also, those smells are reminding you of previous memories as well.
So here's a quick trick that my aunt does from time to time because she's living a more plant-based diet, so she doesn't use a lot of. So, but one of the things she does is she puts a pot on the stove, and she puts like cranberries and cinnamon and that nutmeg and those cloves, and she simmers it, and that smell permeates throughout the house, and so it gives a nice holiday smell. So when you go over there for Thanksgiving dinner, that would be sitting on the stove, and you would just smell that, and it would really help enhance the entire meal. So that's something you can do if you're having family over or friends over, or if you just want to put yourself in that holiday festive mood. You can just put a little water on the stove and drop those ingredients in there and boil it, and your whole house will have that nice holiday smell.
It's also probably not a bad idea to do if you're selling your house too, right? Because when people walk in and smell that, they may be in more of the mood to buy your house.
Kick back. Oh man, I really like that house. It triggers it. It has
Exactly.
nice memories, and you got that smell in there.
Exactly.
Yes. So we're getting close to the end of our time. So I think you all have. We're just We got to get those spices. We got to get all of those things right, because when we're talking about eating a more plant-based diet, we're trying to move away from those animal products and things like that. We've got to replace it, right? We talked about that before. We've got to replace it with something. We got to keep our energy level up because we still have to eat, right? We can't stop eating, so we have to find ways to replace that. This show is dedicated to giving you some supplements, giving you some ideas, giving you some different ways of reframing your mindset around food and eating and diet. Right? Remember, daily intentional of eating triumphantly. I remember that.
There you
And
go.
so we got to find new ways to invigorate our diet with more plant-based items.
Well said. I'm Dr. Monique, and I approve of that message. But I've enjoyed it again, guys. Please be sure to hit me up I'm on all social media at Physician in the Kitchen. Love to see any, and we'll, if there are any questions that we didn't get to during the show, we certainly will. I want to give a shout out. I see Dr. Erica is on here. Dr. Lindy, thank you guys so much for watching. Those are my fellow medical moguls. I love them. So thank you guys for the support, and thank you all for tuning in. I have enjoyed it. I mean, Ellis, I think we did it.
I think we did. I think we got it in. We're going to pack it in. And so next week, we're going to tell you how to get BOSS. We got another acronym for you. That's BOSS. So you don't want to miss next week's show, first Tuesday in November, 8 p.m. right here on blackdoctor.org.
See you guys.